I'm Catherine at Jeweled Forest. I thank you for tuning into this video on how to turn a pair of earrings at the lathe. Start this project with a dowel. This is really important. It will give you one dimension of your earrings that are absolutely uniform, that you can't mess up. Either use a dowel that's ready-made or pick a wood that you like and make a dowel from it. Cut a length of your dowel long enough to make 2 earring drops, but short enough to fit in your chuck and spin without a wobble. Measure the length of your earring drop. In this case, I'm going 1 1/4 inch, and then mark it and part the dowel halfway through. Once you've done that, begin to make the curve that will be the top of the earring. Make as much of that curve as you can without increasing how much you've parted the dowel. With that finished, make the curve that leads to the bottom half of the earring, the pointed half. Sand the earrings, the drop that you have on the lathe. Sand it. I start at about 150 grit and I go up to 600 for wood. When I do resin, it's a little different. Finish the drop with a wax finish right there on the lathe. Once the drop is shaped and sanded and a wax finish is applied, then go back to where the original part mark is, part the dowel a little bit further, and finish the top curve for the earring. It's really important to get that curve as complete as possible without leaving any significant points or flat spots. The reason being is you're not going to be able to do much repair of the top of this earring once you part it off. With one drop almost entirely finished, make the second drop. Do exactly the same thing as you did with the first one. And it's very important to pay attention when you make the first drop so that you can do the same thing with the second drop. You need to remember what sort of curve you made at the top of the earring, what sort of curve you made towards the bottom of the earring, where the curve begins, where it flattens out. You want the 2 drops to look as much alike as possible. Okay, so once you've finished the bottom half of the drops, it's time to finish off the tops. Put each, one at a time, each drop back in the chuck, holding the little nib at the top of the drop to guide how you place the drop in the chuck. Tighten the chuck lightly and then turn it on, and if the nib at the top of the drop wobbles, then the drop is not in true and you need to readjust it. You want to readjust that drop until the nib at the top turns as true as possible, and then simply use a bowl gouge or some sort of small gouge to clean off that nib at the top. Use your skew tool, the point of the skew, to make a little indentation dead center at the top of the drop. That's ultimately where the ear wire will be fastened into the earring. So it's important that that divot that you're making with the skew be as centered as possible. I use a Dremel tool with a micro bit, something I'll explain a little later in the video, to begin the hole for the ear wire. You want to use a very small bit, and again, I'll show you that in the second half of the video. And just begin the hole. You'll finish it later. Finish sanding the top of this drop and apply the same wax finish you did for the bottom half. Repeat that same process for the second drop. Now you're ready to do the steps of putting in the ear wire. Okay, so now we're going to do the second half of making wood drop turned earrings. The second half is getting the ear wires in the drops. All right, to do that, we're going to use a Dremel with micro drill bits. I use size 67 for this. I'll explain a little more about that in a minute. And you just drill into the spot you marked while it was on the lathe, while the drop was on the lathe. We marked center, and now we want to just drill a hole in one and then in two. All right, that's it for the Dremel, which is good. Now, we are going to want to put a bail or an eye screw into the hole. To do that, we're going to use a little bit of glue, a little bit of super glue. You can also use epoxy. I just don't have any at the moment. If you use super glue, I recommend that you use gel super glue. It helps. It doesn't dry as quickly. Okay, so choose a pair of pliers that has a smooth, no ridges, no teeth, a smooth flat surface on the inside so that you don't mar your jewelry findings. That's important. So a little bit of super glue on the end, not a lot, and just put it in just the hole you just drilled. Now, one thing I will mention, you have to think about how you want these earrings oriented when they hang on your ears. Do you want the stripe side to show, or do you want the flat broad side to show? Typically, I have the broad side showing, and to make that happen, you need to orient the eye screw to be parallel with the side you want showing. And this material has stripes, so it's very easy to make sure that the eye screw is oriented. That way, when the ear wire is attached, it will hang, showing the side that you want to show. Okay, that's one. Here's two. Now, I'll say a word or two about these drill bits. These are micro drill bits. I will put I'll put a link in the description for purchasing some. If you just Google micro drill bits, you should come up with 2 or 3 sources of them. I use size 67. Typically when you buy them, you get a set of 5 or 6 in a little tube like this, which is good because they break easily. You'll have to experiment with this as you make your own earrings. The size of the drill bit depends on the size of the bail that you're trying to glue into your drop, but it also depends on the type of material you're using. If you're using resin or plastic, when you drill that material, the hole tends to be larger than when you drill wood. And when you drill regular wood, the hole tends to be a little bit larger than when you turn or drill stabilized wood. You'll have to practice with this to find your own sweet spot, but those are my tips anyway for how to get the eye screws into the drops. Now, I'll also say one other word about this. It's important to use nice findings. These are all sterling. The ear wires will be sterling. The eye screws are sterling. If you want to make jewelry, even though it's made of wood, don't use base materials if you can avoid it. Don't use cheap ear wires if you can avoid it. Ear wires are not expensive anyway, but make sure that you use sterling. It absolutely elevates your finished product. Okay, so now, for those of you who don't have a lot of jewelry making experience, there is an easy way to open and close a ear wire. Instead of pulling the eye open, You instead want to just twist. You want to hold this with your pliers and simply move the ear wire itself towards you so that you've created a little gap. It will be very easy to close this and you will not have changed the shape of anything. So let's thread this on, close it up. And there we go. One earring ready to go. Now I've put two styles of ear wire here just to show the variety and how it changes the look depending on which ear wire you choose. This shape here is like a shepherd's hook, and this other one is just a large circle. And they're both very nice on this shape. I find that people like either one, but they make for just a slightly different look. And you can use whatever you like. Now, sometimes it can be difficult to find these sorts of findings, so I will have these various kinds of ear wires, these little bails or eye screws. I'll have them available in the description of this video should you want to use what I use. But otherwise, find any jewelry supply place and just buy nice findings. One last comment. We've finished these earrings on the lathe with a wax finish, Renaissance wax to be specific, and that's fine. It gives it a nice, warm, matte look, and many people prefer that. If what you want is a high gloss finish, you want to get some high gloss polyurethane. Before you put the eyelet in or the ear wire in, you're going to just dip the whole drop in the polyurethane and let it cure for several hours before you do the rest of the assembly. Okay, that's all I can think of in terms of how you get the earrings to be finished. I hope this was useful. Please, if you have any questions, just type them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer anything that I can. And I'll look forward to you on the next video. Thanks for watching.